Contrary to what most people think, the real Annabelle isn't that creepy porcelain doll from the movies. She is actually just a simple Raggedy Ann cloth doll, ordinary and even a little cute at first sight. It all started in 1970 when a young nursing student named Donna received the doll as a gift from her mother. Donna shared an apartment with another student, Angie, and soon both of them began noticing strange things happening. The doll would show up in different positions from where they had left her. Sometimes she was even found in other rooms, even though nobody had moved her. Handwritten messages on parchment paper began to appear, saying things like, "Help us." One day, they consulted a medium who told them the doll was possessed by the spirit of a little girl named Annabelle Higgins, who had died in the area where the apartment was located. The girls, moved by the story, allowed Annabelle to stay with them. That's when things got worse. A friend of theirs, Lou, began to feel that the doll was evil. One night, he woke up with sleep paralysis and saw the doll crawling up onto his chest, trying to strangle him. Not long after, Lou was attacked mysteriously. Deep scratches appeared on his chest, as if left by invisible claws. Terrified, Donna and Angie turned to the famous demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren, the same couple who inspired The Conjuring. According to the Warrens, it wasn't the spirit of a little girl. It was, in fact, a demonic entity using the doll as a vessel to manipulate the girls. The spirit's ultimate goal was to possess a human being. The Warrens took the doll home and locked it inside a sealed glass case at their occult museum in Connecticut. To this day, it remains there with a clear warning. Warning, do not open. Legend has it that people who mocked the doll at the museum or tapped on the glass suffered fatal accidents after leaving. The most famous case is of a motorcyclist who died in a crash just hours after laughing and making fun of the doll. In the movies, Annabelle is portrayed as a terrifying porcelain doll, designed that way for visual impact. In real life, the fear doesn't come from her looks, but from the cursed history and alleged attacks connected to her. Robert the Doll, the cursed doll. At the beginning of the 20th century, a young boy named Robert Eugene Otto, known as Gene, received a very unusual gift. It was a large cloth doll dressed in a sailor's outfit given to him by a family servant. Rumor has it that this woman practiced witchcraft, and before leaving, she placed a curse on what looked like an innocent toy. Gene became obsessed with the doll. He even named it Robert after himself. And from that moment on, things inside the house began to change. Gene's parents often reported hearing strange voices coming from his bedroom. They would rush upstairs only to find Gene sitting with the doll placed right in front of him. Gene swore he wasn't alone. "It wasn't me. It was Robert." He would say whatever objects were broken or furniture was mysteriously overturned. Neighbors also started noticing something even more disturbing. From outside the house, they would see the doll moving on its own, changing windows as if it was watching the street. Gene grew up, but he never got rid of the doll. Even as an adult, married and living his own life, he continued to treat Robert as if it were a real friend. His wife, Anne, was deeply unsettled by his obsession, especially because Gene insisted the doll spoke to him, and that he could hear it answering back. There are accounts that Anne begged Gene to put Robert away in the attic because she couldn't stand its presence anymore. But Gene refused to part with it. He kept the doll on display, seated in a chair in their bedroom, almost like a member of the family. Gene lived in Key West until his death in 1974. After he died, the doll remained in the house. And soon, the new owners began to report strange phenomena, such as footsteps coming from upstairs, even when the house was empty, the sound of a child giggling through the hallways, the doll moving on its own from one spot to another. Frightened, the owners eventually decided to donate Robert. Today, Robert the doll is locked inside a glass case at the East Martello Museum in Key West. Over the years, he gained a reputation for bringing bad luck to anyone who disrespects him. Visitors who laughed at him or took photos without asking for permission reported accidents, illnesses, and even sudden deaths shortly afterward. And even behind the glass, people say his blank, eerie stare seems to follow every visitor. The sign right beside him is crystal clear. Ask for permission before taking a photo, or face the consequences. Nowadays, dozens of letters arrive at the museum where Robert is kept. Letters from people begging for forgiveness, hoping to undo tragedies that supposedly began after a single visit. Robert the Doll has become one of the most famous urban legends in the United States. His story inspired several independent horror films named Robert, and many believe he was also an indirect inspiration for Chucky, the infamous killer doll from the Child's Play franchise. The origin of the Okiku doll. The story begins in 1918 on the island of Hokkaido, Japan. A young man named Eikichi Suzuki bought a traditional Japanese doll for his little sister, Okiku, who was only 3 years old. The doll was about 16 inches tall, with straight black hair cut to shoulder length and dressed in a kimono. Okiku instantly fell in love with the gift and never let go of it. Sadly, not long after, the little girl became gravely ill and passed away. The grieving family decided to keep the doll as a way to remember their daughter. But as time went on, they noticed something disturbing. The doll's hair seemed to be growing. At first, it only reached shoulder length. Later, it extended all the way down to the waist, as if it were alive. Convinced that the spirit of little Okiku had attached itself to the doll, the family began treating it almost as if it were their daughter herself. In the 1930s, the Suzuki family donated the doll to the Manenji Buddhist temple in Hokkaido, where it remains to this very day. The monks of the temple claim that Okiku's hair continues to grow and that they have to cut it regularly. Some even say that laboratory tests revealed the hair is indeed real human hair from a child. To this day, the monks insist that the girl's spirit is still present inside the doll. The story of the Okiku doll has become one of Japan's most famous urban legends. It has inspired TV shows, documentaries, and even Japanese horror films. The image of a doll whose hair grows on its own has become a cultural symbol of haunting in Japan, right alongside the ghosts of children and the pale women in white. Some people believe it's all just an illusion, caused by humidity and the natural wear of the doll's materials. But others swear there's no denying the spiritual bond between the deceased girl and the toy. Whatever the explanation, Okiku remains at the Manenji temple, still carefully watched over by the monks and by the visitors who dare to meet her mysterious gaze. Let Me Out doll. In the 1970s, a man named Kerry Walton from Wagga Wagga in Australia went to explore an abandoned house with his brother. Inside, he stumbled upon a strange old doll with a deeply unsettling appearance. A large head, made of wood or paper match, real hair, apparently human, and a face with almost human-like features, but distorted. Kerry took the doll home. But once there, the family dog would grow aggressive whenever it was near the doll, barking as if it wanted to attack it. At night, strange noises seemed to come from wherever the doll was stored. Kerry later claimed he had recurring dreams about the doll, and that he often heard a voice pleading, "Let me out." That's how it earned its nickname, Let Me Out doll. As time went on, rumors spread. Some believed the doll had been crafted by Eastern European immigrants using witchcraft techniques. Others claimed the spirit of a dead child had become attached to it. There are even stories of people mocking the doll, only to suffer bad luck, accidents, or sudden illness soon after. Instead of getting rid of it, Kerry began taking the doll to TV shows, exhibitions, and interviews. He said it carried a strange energy, one he could never quite explain, and that he never managed to part with it. To this day, Carrie insists that the Let Me Out doll is alive in some way, and that it will never leave him. Though not as world-famous as Annabelle or Robert the Doll, Let Me Out is considered the most haunted doll in Australia. It has appeared on various paranormal programs and is often listed among the world's most cursed objects. The Dolls of Xochimilco. South of Mexico City lies Xochimilco, a place famous for its canals and floating gardens. But hidden within this landscape is one of the eeriest tourist attractions in the world, La Isla de las Muñecas, the Island of the Dolls. The story begins in the 1950s with a man named Don Julian Santana. He left his family and chose to live alone on a small island in Xochimilco. According to legend, one day he found the body of a little girl who had drowned in the canals. Next to her, floating in the water, was a doll. Haunted by what he had seen, Don Julian hung the doll on a tree as a sign of respect and as a way to ward off evil spirits. But he didn't stop there. Over the years, he began collecting more and more dolls. Some he found in the trash, others floating in the canals, many given to him by neighbors and visitors. He hung them all over the island, on trees, walls, fences, and even inside his hut. The dolls were often broken, missing eyes, arms, or legs, which made the scene even more terrifying. Don Julian claimed he could hear the spirit of the drowned girl at night. He said the dolls whispered, moved their heads, and even blinked. He spent the rest of his life tending to the dolls, believing they protected him from evil. In 2001, Don Julian was found dead, drowned in the exact same spot where he once said he had found the girl's body. After his death, the island became a tourist destination. Today, visitors say they feel watched the entire time they're there. Some swear the dolls' eyes follow them, or that the dolls change positions when no one is looking. The Island of the Dolls is now one of Mexico's most disturbing legends, a place where death, devotion, and the macabre coexist. These were the 5 most terrifying dolls. But what about you? Would you dare to face one of them up close? Subscribe and get ready for the next video.